No words.
Just
They're
emojis.
just full emojis. Good morning. Welcome to SJU. It is so delightful. Happy to be joined by Roxy Striar.
Happy to be here.
Spencer Gilbert.
Ooh, hi now.
I know you guys think that we're faking starting a conversation and then doing the show. We are not. We
Is
are
that what
not
they
doing.
say?
Some people think that they think we're doing like fake morning show banter.
That makes sense.
Hi there.
We do sit here silently and then
just
before it's
right
about to go
before.
on. Yeah, because
We start a fake conversation, but I actually just didn't know that we were going to go live. Here's what we're discussing, and I'd like your help. This is a plea to you, audience, because we're in the middle of a conversation about popular teenage words. And
yes. Are you gonna ask?
Yeah, I'm going to ask for you.
Thank you.
Roxy says there's a new 2C word that, let's keep it clean,
thick.
but that is not thick.
It ends with two C's.
And it ends with two C's.
I don't know what it means, and also I don't know what the word is, but I know that the double C at the end is a new thing we're doing for another word that is not thick.
Okay, so
right.
if you know the answer to this very important question, please do answer in the comments below, and Ryan will call it out. To the Twitter trends. Our top story today, ladies and gentlemen, is movies that traumatized you as a kid. Why, Spencer Gilbert? Why is that our top story?
Oh, don't ask me. I just show up here.
It's our top story because apparently it's trending enough on Twitter that Roxy has gotten 2 or 3 calls from outlets that we urgently have to get on this matter.
We have to
We are
talk
here
about
for
it.
you. We refuse to be left out of the conversation. We will answer this question today, and we
Debate
will
me.
definitively answer this question today. What is the #1 most traumatizing movie for a kid? We will answer that today. Also, leave your comments in the chat, and Ryan will call some of those out. Ryan, I got jobs for you today as well. And the reason that we're giving Ryan all of these jobs is because in the normal production of this show of late, there are magicians and fireworks and skits and green screen. But when I show up, it's this Twitter trend.
Make something out of that.
So let's make something out of it, people. Most
That's
traumatizing.
Well,
It's not the use of thick.
I have a most traumatizing moment and a most traumatizing movie.
Okay.
Which would you like me to begin with?
Dealer's choice.
Okay, I'll begin with the moment, which I think a lot of people share, which was the opening of the Ark of the Covenant in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And what's, to that point, been a violent but sanitized violence movie in Raiders suddenly becomes a full-blown, like, gore, practical face-melting effect that really seared into my eyeballs, and it happens fast enough that like you can't look away in time when you're a little kid and you're like, it's already there. Like when I close my eyes, I can see a melting Nazi face.
Do we have the melting Nazi face?
Put it in later.
It's iconic melting Nazi face.
You can
Look
picture
up
it now.
Nazi face melt GIF, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing to be traumatized by, though. I feel like that's a good lesson for kids.
Don't go
open
into the Ark of the Covenant.
It kind of. Like, stay out of my stuff, kids.
I mean, I can't count how many times that's come up for me.
Yeah.
Just this week.
Don't open the box if you don't want to know what's inside.
And then you're reminded.
That actually, when it comes to people's emotions and your employees' well-being, that actually is a good lesson. Don't open the box if you don't want to know what's inside.
There you go. So that one was on loop for a big part of my childhood.
Wait, so you watched it again after you were traumatized?
No,
by it?
in my head, in my brain, just haunting me, spinning around while I have nightmares. That said, that one is fair play on my parents, but for some reason, I don't know whether to blame my mom or my dad for this, but one of my first R-rated movies was 1996's Ransom. They took me to see Ransom, the Mel Gibson movie about the kidnapped boy who was like just around my age at the time. Like, why would you do that?
Did you ask to go? Were you dying to see Ransom?
No, there's no way. There's no way in 1996 I was like, I want to see the Mel Gibson thriller Ransom.
They did not want to pay for a babysitter that night.
Yeah, they totally didn't. They like got stuck with me. One of them did, or both. I don't know who to blame yet. And if you don't recall, it's like Taken. If the guy's only special skill was he had a lot of money, it's like the boy is kidnapped.
That's the most special skill.
It is. Yes, to be fair, it is the most special skill. But in this situation, like a boy is kidnapped, and that's like the B story is you're with a kidnapped kid, which I didn't really. It didn't really dawn on me that was a possibility at the time. But there it is.
You didn't know kidnapping existed then.
If I knew, I hadn't really thought about it.
You had been told not to talk to strangers.
Sure, but like it was never. It was in the after school special of like they'll make you smoke cool drugs. In this sense, it was like no, they will tie you up and take you away and kill you if your parents don't fork over the cash.
Right.
Instead of being like Brian Mills, I have a set of skills, I will come and rip your throats out. He's like, I got $2 million right here. Whoever gets the kidnappers gets the money, which seemed like I was like, no, Dad, no, Mel Gibson, Dad, don't do that. Terrible idea. Just give them the money and get the kid back. So that was very traumatic.
Wasn't there a twist in that? Wasn't there like a twist in that one?
Well, I think that is the twist. Is like it's like, is he gonna pay or not? And then he like goes on TV to like speak to the people, and he's like, actually, this money's not for you. This money's for anyone that can bring you down. Oh. It's like terrible.
That's a really bad idea. Yeah. The FBI would never approve of that.
What happened at the end?
He's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Ransom. What about you?
I was traumatized in a lot of different ways as a kid. I had an older brother, so whatever he was allowed to watch, I was allowed to watch, which was like maybe not the right parenting move, but sure. So I remember like a couple different kinds of traumatized. One, I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High way too young. I was like very, very young.
What was traumatizing in Fast Times?
It wasn't as traumatizing as I was like, what is happening? Like, what are these relationships? There was just so much. I think I was like 6 or something, like very, very young. And I remember just like being like, what, I don't know what to make of these people. And then like I looked at guys differently. I didn't know what people wanted anymore. Like I just like really confused my growing up. But the one that I watched when I was 9 was The Sixth Sense, and I was already very afraid of death. And then I was like, but am I even here? And that was really scary. That was a bad one. And I was just like up all night for the following months being like, are the parents really parents? Are you guys dead? Like touching things to make sure that they were solid. So pretty traumatizing.
But if you were a ghost, you wouldn't know.
That's true. But what if they were all ghosts?
That's true.
And you could only see that.
And only you could see then.
You just don't know.
I'm going to combine. I'm combining this very important Twitter trend with a fan question from Mike Hybert. He says, "What movie have you seen that's changed your opinion on something, and what was the issue?" Okay, so I'm going to combine that with a very traumatizing movie I saw when I was a kid. My friends and I, when I was growing up, really loved horror movies, and we watched them very, very young. I think my best friend, her parents showed her The Exorcist when she was like 6. Not appropriate, but, you know, it informed a very interesting personality that I got to grow up with. But so we rented this movie one night that when we were really young that we thought was a horror movie called Faces of Death.
Yeah.
It is a horror movie, but not the kind that you're thinking
That's like
of.
Pre-YouTube. It's like Live Leak before there was...
Totally.
Wait, what is it?
So Faces...
well, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's basically...
It's murder.
It's snuff films. It's a series of
they're not.
People dying.
But they're not. It's not like people being murdered.
Right.
But and it's not just people. It's like people. It's like a slaughterhouse, or there's like an execution, and then like horrible accidents and things like that. So it's like pre-dark web, before the dark web. We had no idea. We thought it was a horror movie. So the animals. I know I'm bringing it down, man.
Yeah, right.
Bringing it down. So the animal portion of it, all of us became vegetarians that day, because we saw the slaughterhouse and like all these animals getting killed, and it was horribly, like, it's burned into my skull. I listened to a lot of Meat is Murder by the Smiths, which is a trend today after that. And I was a vegetarian for many, 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 many years after watching that movie. But other than that, it's like your standard Disney, man. Like, Disney's pretty horrific. They're always shooting and killing the parents.
Sure.
Like,
well, you can't be a princess otherwise, so.
No, you got to have that trauma in order to be a princess. Like, I think that's the lesson for ladies. praise out of Disney is like, oh yeah, you want to like be a princess and have power, like you gotta hurt for it. Which is, by the way, not untrue. So good. Ryan, anything interesting in the chat about traumatizing movies?
Or the 2 C's?
There's some theories of what word that Roxy is talking about. Either snack or sick.
Snack! It's snack with 2 C's.
That's just like a cute spelling.
No, that's what
like,
it means. You're a snack.
Like
No, I
he's
know,
a
but
snack.
like, looking like a snack is like you can
she's a
spell that
snack.
with a CK.
No, it's 2 C's.
Okay. Sure.
Snack.
That's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was.
Well, you know what? Person who left that, you're a snack for saying that.
You are a thick snack.
For informing us about the word that we were missing. You are a snack. I don't think that's the appropriate use of snack because, I mean, you're a hell of a guy or a lady, a gal.
The whole chat kind of got it instantly. So they.
Well, chat, you're a heck of a lot of great guys and ladies.
All you
gals and dolls. That doesn't make any sense. We're going to move on. Thank you guys for liking, subscribing, sharing, turning on notifications, commenting, and hitting that bell. Bling, 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 bling. We have things for you to watch. Yeah. Does yours not? We should get you a new bell.
I need a bling bling bell.
Talk about a lawyer defending the Joker.
Oh, man. You know, when I close my eyes at night, I imagine if the Joker were real. and then I wake up and I try to do Joker stuff in his name. But if that were to really happen, if the Joker was real and did real-life Joker stuff, we wasted a real lawyer's time to make the case for and against Joaquin Phoenix's Joker and what he would be charged with, what his defense strategy would be, all sorts of interesting stuff if you are into overthinking movies as we are.
We are very into overthinking movies and treating things like they're real when they're not, because why not? We're in a crazy world. We can only just embrace that. So we did 2 things. One, you were not looking at Joaquin Phoenix's Joker in that clip. You will note it was Heath Ledger's, because the first movie that we covered in this series was the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, but coming out this weekend, the lawyer's going to defend Heath Ledger, who, spoiler alert, he's the only one that he would use the insanity defense for. Find out why when you watch the video. And we also wasted...
That one's out.
That one's already out?
Yeah.
Check it out.
You should check it out. It's really good. And then Batman is this weekend, which is a little bit more silly. We also wasted a perfectly good psychologist time. And Roxy can talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, Dr. Drea Letamendi. We talked to her about Harley Quinn and whether or not she actually is crazy, because that word gets thrown around a lot. Really interesting. She kind of changed my opinion on the situation. And also is just like a really smart woman. So I loved hearing her talk about this. And I think right now with Birds of Prey and everything Harley going on, it's great timing for this.
So there's another one, and thank you. Yeah, and Roxy does awesome VO on that series. Drea is amazing. She has an entire series on Fandom, written series, where she'll do a psychological analysis of characters. She did all of the Game of Thrones characters to start, and she has a number of other ones. I really love that series. I think it's a lot of fun. So I hope you guys will check out these videos and enjoy. Mulan is getting a PG-13 rating. Dun, 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 dun. Story 2. Fireworks, green screen, sketches, characters. Nope.
Insert Dan's knife review right here. What's he going to review
I don't get any of that, Joe Starr. Not a bit of it. But not bitter. Disney's live-action remake of Mulan has received a PG-13 rating from the MPA due to sequences of violence. This is the first Disney live-action remake of an animated classic to receive above a PG rating, and it's the first live-action studio movie to receive a PG-13 since Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales in 2017. So, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, that this seems to be the most distinct from the animated original of all of them. But just thoughts on this, the PG-13ness of it? I mean, it's interesting that little kids won't be able to see it.
It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's also kind of shocking when Disney's whole MO is like, we make these movies for everybody. And if you're banking on the name recognition of Mulan, it's like, oh, the one with the talking lizard and the fun songs and also a good empowering story. But no, you might be getting like a war epic. That's risky.
Yeah.
In as much as Disney takes risks, that's a risk.
No, it is a risk. I think it actually is, and I respect it. I mean, I hope the movie's good, but I'm more just like, I'm excited that they would do something different, because we're getting a lot of samey.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm curious, what do you guys think happened? Like, do you think somebody actively fought for the PG-13 rating, and they were like, no, we want this to be a little more edgy. Do you think that they thought they were teetering on that PG-13, and the MPAA just gave them the PG-13 and they weren't stoked about it but didn't want to change the movie? Like, what do you guys think the behind-the-scenes conversation was?
I think so. The director is Nikki Caro, and we talked to her, I think, 2 years ago for another film, and it was right when Mulan was announced, and at the time, she was fairly reticent to say much, but she was saying, like, no, there's not going to be music. She was already saying that. I have a feeling that she has fought fairly hard for her vision, and that for whatever reason, Disney's backing her. I don't think they wanted a PG-13 rating. I don't think anybody fights to have a PG-13 rating. They might have just been willing to live with one, which, again, I respect it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this might actually end up paying off for them, because the people, yes, they are, when you're doing these live action remakes, you think they're appealing to kids, but also it's the Mulan fans. Like, Mulan was one of the biggest, the best of growing up with. Like, it was a top 3 for me, and I think that this makes me a little more intrigued.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't going to see it regardless, but...
Isn't Mulan your favorite?
I go back, Lion King, Aladdin, and Mulan, but, like, Mulan did the most for me. I just, in terms of rewatchability, I love them all so equally. I could watch just those 3 movies for the rest of my life, I feel.
Nope. I mean, I agree that you... I don't mean to say...
No, you cannot. That is not a snack move. That is too thick.
Let me make something very clear, because I feel like this gets confused a lot. Like, I love Roxy. Legitimately. Like, I legitimately adore Roxy. Like, as a human being, she's one of my favorite people, and I adore you. Yeah, and I feel like because I'm so comfortable with you, because I love you so much, I'll tease you. And then people are like, you're mean. Think I'm mean. And I never want to be mean to you.
No. You said no, not like, no, you're not allowed to feel that. It's just like, no, I would not
watch
do
that.
Yeah, obviously.
That's not my thing. But what's your
Desert
favorite?
Island movies?
What are your 3 Desert Island movies?
Or 3 favorite Disney movies?
Yes.
It has to be the same.
It can be 2 things.
So Disney and desert, what do we got? Like Moana? What are the other islands?
Yeah, Aladdin, Moana, and Treasure Planet.
Okay.
So those are your 3. That's what you're watching for the rest of your life.
They have to be Disney movies? I'm not clear on the rules here.
The question is twofold. 1, what are your 3 favorite Disney movies? And then 2, what are your 3 Desert Island movies, if you have them, which I don't think everybody would.
Yeah. I will take Moana. I love Moana. Gosh, beyond that, Fantasia, and finally... pass. So then, so then regular Desert Island movies, they'll just take Groundhog Day. I feel like I'll get something out of it every time.
There's a sweet irony to that.
Yeah.
It's super, I can never top that answer, so I'm not even going to try, but Fantasia makes so much sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big Disney guy, classic Disney.
Well, also, come on.
Yeah, you're bored. What else are you gonna do?
No, come on. You're watching Fantasia. How are you watching? Never mind.
Hit myself in the head with a coconut enough times.
If you're eating a sandwich beforehand, How I Met Your Mother style. That's
exactly. Mm-hmm. That's how you're watching Fantasia. That's how you're watching Fantasia.
On that island?
On that island?
On that island.
It's just non-narrative, so I'm not gonna be like watching, Cinderella for the 900th time, blowing my brains out. It'll be just like a screensaver.
No, I love Fantasia.
You don't like Cinderella?
It's fine. Look, any movie taken to the infinite extremes of my desert island life, I'm gonna hate. So it might as well just be something you can have on in the background.
All right. I actually love Fantasia a lot. I loved Fantasia when I was a kid. Yeah. I loved Fantasia again as a teenager, maybe after a sandwich, maybe not. Mm-hmm. We don't know. We don't. But then it was like sort of like, I feel like pre-Baraka, like it just spoke to the style I was going to like. But
yeah.
Do you guys know Baraka and Koyaanisqatsi?
Yeah,
Koyaanisqatsi. It's basically, it means life out of balance. And it's like just a series of images and really beautiful Philip Glass music. If you like film, I highly suggest these are the type of things that you should check out. Like, you may not love it, but I think it's interesting to watch either way. It's not for everyone. Baraka, Koyaanisqatsi, and I think it was like Patterson.
There's a third one. I don't remember the name.
I think that. But anyway, it's definitely Koyaanisqatsi and Baraka was the last of Koyaanisqatsi. those to me are just like the non-linear, like non-narrative films.
Why do you say it like that?
That's
I'm not
that's how they-
familiar.
that's
the
how they
score
do it.
in the movie. Yeah.
I didn't know if this was like a great you two just decided to harmonize.
It's a bit we have.
It's a bit.
Yeah,
We
it's
just
a-
chant,
it's a
Gregorian chant the
Koyaanisqatsi
names
bit.
of movies we've seen.
I was gonna just start chiming in too, but I was like, I could mess this up.
Oh my goodness. Have you seen
Beauty and
Waking
the
Life?
Beast. Yeah.
Do you love Waking Life?
It's good. I should revisit it.
Yeah.
I did like it when I saw it. Yeah.
That feels like a Spencer on the edge because it goes a little to
it's
the place.
a little wooey, you know,
Yeah.
but I like it. I love the animation style.
So, Waking Life is a Richard Linklater film that used rotoscope, and that was early. So basically, they filmed it live action, and then they animated it afterwards. And it's this young guy walking around having philosophical conversations, which I know how that sounds, and that's fair.
Do you like it?
I love it.
Oh.
I really do, but I'm embarrassed a little bit. I know it means that I'm a bit of an asshole that I love it, but I still love it.
Like it's a little pretentious of a
little
film?
bit,
Okay.
yeah.
It's in that Garden State zone for me where
I love
like
Garden
I
State.
liked it when it came out, and I know if I look back, I'm gonna hate it.
You might, yeah, and I might too, because I loved it when it came
Yeah.
out. But there have been a few films like that for me too. But that said, I also love the Sunset series, the Sunrise,
yeah.
like the Poor
Those
Sunrise,
I love as well.
which are basically two people walking around and talking about life, you
Yeah,
know, in
but
a
it's what's
but it's what's unsaid, and it's
Yeah.
the evolution of a relationship, and I just love that series. So I like movies where people just walk around and talk about stuff.
And this one's very coolly animated.
And this one's very coolly animated. But you're right. I might look back on it and be like,
So never look back.
never look back. Also
Yeah.
a movie. I answered Mike's question about what movie you've seen that's changed your opinion on something and the issue. The issue was eating animals, and it changed my opinion about whether I was comfortable doing that.
I don't think a movie has ever really changed an opinion I've had, because even if it's like, oh, you're making a really persuasive case with your film, there's still something in my head that's like, well, it's fiction and you wrote it. So documentaries have changed my mind
Yeah, me
about plenty of
too.
things. On the lighter side, what was it? Microcosmos made me like bugs. Bugs are cool, you know. That we generally just walk on them and they're like ew, and we squish them when we see them and smack them and send them out of our house. Sure, yeah. But Microcosmos is an amazing French documentary that is like just takes this patch of wilderness and like the camera like goes down to the blades of grass, and like you never leave that micro level of the environment the entire time, and it's just, they're so cool, and like some of them are cute and they're funny. It's like a little dung beetle like trying to get his work done, and like, yeah, he's rolling poop around. If you saw him, you'd be like, ugh, gross. But this movie got me to appreciate that level.
And
I'll
now
have
you
you
don't
know that I take spiders outside. I love spiders.
Yeah.
Not all bugs do I love, but I do love spiders.
The only one that I will actively kill is a cockroach.
Cockroach.
Oh, yeah.
Because no, I'm
Yeah.
not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't
Agreed.
really have a movie. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Spenny, where documentaries, but also a lot of TV, non-scripted TV will do this for me. I've repped the show so hard, but Hassan Minaj's show Patriot Act, which like to me is one of the best shows on TV or on Netflix. But he was talking about the heroin epidemic and fentanyl crisis, and I was thinking that people that made, because it asks what the issue was, the people that make the things that stop you from going into cardiac arrest if you have overdosed
Narcan.
are the same people who are putting fentanyl into drugs. So like that changed my whole view on so much going on with that, especially coming from Massachusetts, which is like the #1 state dealing with this epidemic, and having so many people in my life who've suffered from this. So he, like, the way he tackles it in a half hour was so unbelievable. But all of his episodes, he really changes my opinions on things.
Yeah. I love that show too.
It's awesome.
I'll be honest though, there's a number of shows like that show where I really love it, and I love the deep dives, and sort of like it's not unlike John Oliver where it's very
similar,
journalistic
yeah.
and well researched. But I very rarely, it's usually echoing an opinion I already have. I may learn something to back my opinion up more. Like, I already know pharmaceutical companies are trash, and that they are like legal drug dealers, and they do not care about your life or body, and they are 100% there to make money off of it, and your suffering and your pain and your addiction.
But you already knew.
But I already knew that, and like ibuprofen and Advil is way more efficacious at killing pain than any of those opium-related drugs, and they just keep making them more addictive.
I agree that sometimes I'll have a similar opinion, but then like he'll do an episode on cricket where it will be like, I don't know anything about like why cricket is so bad for some countries and so good for, like, I just won't know. And then I'll be like, oh, now I have an opinion on why cricket needs to be changed in this country.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes I have similar beliefs and then I just have like stronger reasons I believe that.
Yeah, I wonder, philosophical question, Spencer Gilbert. Since, did you know that Spencer was a philosophy major? Information.
See, it gets you jobs?
No. That's not why you're employed.
No.
You're funny. Anyway, the philosophical question that I'd ask us is, because I think about this sometimes when I watch shows like that, and I'm like, wow, I really feel like I learned something and that was really well researched. And I think they do a good job of that, actually. But I also wonder if I should not pursue further. I'm not saying that I can or I do or I have time to, or most of us do. But I wonder if we're correct to land in an opinion after watching a show like that for 1.5 hours on a big issue. Thoughts?
Probably not.
Yeah.
You know,
I think probably not.
Probably not, right?
Read a book, read a report,
Yeah.
do your own research. I think that the news and the comedy news like divide that sort of exists is like, it's mostly like people follow it like they follow sports, and they're like cheering for their team, and they like think they're being engaged by watching it.
Yeah.
But if you don't do anything, who cares?
Right.
So like, if you really cared about these things, you would take those steps to learn more and to actually like find out what you could do or change somebody's mind or something like that and engage with it.
Totally.
More so than being like, I watched John Oliver this week.
No, for sure. I mean, it's interesting because you bring up the pharmaceuticals thing. I think we probably both have people in our lives that have been affected by that. That's one thing. But then, so there's like a personal experience level. But then, like, I also had, my brother worked for a law firm that was literally all they did was sue the generic brands to keep costs up for pharmaceutical drugs, like drugs that people need, like Alzheimer's drugs. So that's evil. And then I'm just going to spill the tea. I mean, like, that's not a secret. But I worked in like a market research company that also like talked to doctors about things like the ways that they gave them, like, basically it was very clear that they were getting kickbacks for recommending certain vitamins and drugs and things like that. It's just like a mess. But don't listen to me, because I am definitely not the expert nor a journalist at all. So go do your own research, and then we will we'll be the change we want to be in the world by encouraging people not to listen to us about our opinions.
Yeah, I think it's a good question that you posed, though, because I do agree that a lot of times people will watch something and be like, now I am the expert in this thing that I watched for 24 minutes on TV, and you're not.
Yeah.
You just heard one side of the story.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's good entertainment. I love those shows. They're fun. They make me laugh, but I don't walk away from them being like, well, I've done my job as a citizen today.
You got to take the next steps.
But like,
I do a lot of
I think it's not 100% clear always what those next steps are and like what the actionable steps are to your point. Like, what do you do? Because truly, we just like live in a world where the marketplace makes it very difficult for people to act in integrity, because there is no baseline assumption that that's what you should be doing. The baseline assumption is that you should be yielding profits if you're in a for-profit business.
Right. I mean, we have no...
How many people are watching this? Is it like one? Is it...
Let's talk about organized labor and how politics is a proxy for our lack of control over our own lives.
They've got to be miserable right now. I'll move on to another fan question, and then we can wrap it up. Huh?
No, they're great.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, they're great.
Bunch
You guys
of
are great.
thick snacks out there.
This is what happens, Joe Starr, when you don't give me rabbits out of hats and knife shows and all that crap. We're going to labor.
Am I allowed to continuously call our fans thick snacks, or at some point I might have to
I think
stop?
if the fans in general go for it, but if as soon as you single out one of them,
it's the group.
yeah,
It's the group that's a thick
they're
snack.
all looking like snacks out there.
Yeah.
You're all looking like snacks out there. I think I'm just misusing it, because I mean, like, heck of a gal.
Totally. Word.
Vanessa LaRusso asks, did any movie leave you with unanswered questions you still think about and wish were answered to this day?
I usually like when the questions are unanswered. I'm a big end of the movie, leave it to yourself. I like my favorite movie of all time, Good Will Hunting. A lot of people want to know what happens when he goes to see about the girl, but I just like it like that. So I can't really think of a movie that made me really wish they had spoon-fed me more. I usually like, because whatever ending that I come up with in my head, I'm like, that's it. That's the one I like.
I agree.
I feel like Vanessa is a studio executive trying to sneak some new pitches in and be like, do you wish you heard more about Han Solo's teenage years? Perhaps you would like to know more about Joker's midlife crisis. So, yeah, I will not answer this because I don't think films giving you answers is necessarily the most satisfying, and leave a little room for your imagination to think what happened next. Otherwise, that's how you get prequels and reboots and sequels, filling in all those gaps.
So the only distinction that I would make is I like movies that leave certain questions unanswered and up to your imagination, and that have you thinking about it for a long time afterwards. That's probably and talking about it and debating it. That's my favorite type of movie. What I don't love is when it's very clear that the writers and filmmakers didn't answer it because they didn't know. Like, I think that you should know as the creator or have a take, and that it's okay for you once you release it into the world that other people have a different take. But for example, and boy, I just want to get in trouble today, but the Christopher Nolan film, oh gosh, help me.
Inception.
Matthew McConaughey. Interstellar. There were a couple of unanswered questions in Interstellar that I remember just like super hardcore doing an interview with Jonathan Nolan, who had co-written it, and like hardcore pushing, because I was like, I am convinced it's because you guys didn't know. And then eventually got to the point they were like, I mean, some things we just thought were cool. And I'm like, there you go. But I don't like that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. Or also sometimes when they didn't think of something. So like the reason there's questions is because they didn't realize that something didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And I think we have this issue with a lot of big franchise movies where people walk away and be like, but what about this part that really didn't make sense for the previous movie? And they're like,
doesn't matter.
There's always future movies to explain. And it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Is there? But this specifically asking about unanswered questions, I don't know, I thought more about like the ending of movies.
Yeah.
So I guess there's more things that throughout movies that I'm like, I wish that was maybe a little more fleshed out, why that character did that. Mm-hmm. None that I can think of at this moment, but somewhere.
Yeah, it's so hard to know the difference between an unanswered question and just like bad writing.
Yeah.
Just like
bad writing. Like I think
flimsy characterization.
Not
Like, I don't know
fleshed out.
why that person did that, and it's like maybe, like you said, maybe the writer didn't either.
or they needed them to do that. Like TV, this happens a lot in television shows more than movies, where suddenly like plot has the wheel, and characters episode. This happened for a couple of seasons on The Walking Dead. For a couple of seasons, characters would behave radically different, like make very different decisions week to week to week, just depending on what the plot needed them to do. And I hesitate to call anything lazy, because I just think it's really hard to make stuff. Like, it's hard to make anything. I'm not sure even what we're doing right now, for example. But clearly there was something that was like not carefully constructed.
Yeah, and just the demands of a show like that, where you're making, how many episodes a season is Walking Dead? Like, it's in the 20s, right? Yeah, and they're all hours long.
Yeah,
and it's like you have
tough.
a huge team of writers, and they're not always in step with each other.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes you get some inconsistent stuff.
Yeah, see, like Lost, I think, suffered from that as well, notably.
Which they've talked about. I think hindsight is 20/20 with, especially like you said, with TV shows. You know, my favorite show of all time, Friends, with everything.
You and every teenager.
Thank you.
Right? Like,
because I'm
kids, you love it.
I'm on.
Sad.
So when Rachel and Joey get together, and like we are very far removed from this series where people are like, why did you guys do that? And they're kind of like, time inevitability. Like, there's no real answer. It's kind of just like, and there's a lot of episodes. Like, we weren't ready to do what we were ultimately going to do yet, and there was still like a ton of episodes. So that,
not Joey.
yeah, kind of. And so I think that
It was
TV
always,
shows,
it always made me uncomfortable.
yeah, it was awkward. And
It
like,
just made
I
me
wish they
uncomfortable, and I wish they hadn't done it. I wish I hadn't done
wish
it.
they hadn't done
Could
it.
it be any more awkward? Oh, who could forget that joke?
I still beat you in a TV fight, Seinfeld versus
Judged by
Friends.
Joe
Never
Starr, hardly
forget.
an impartial juror.
Why?
Because he likes you better.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
True.
Yeah. No,
Roxy.
definitely. Yeah.
You guys work together.
Did you just say, ooh,
You think that makes you like someone more?
Ooh, Roxy?
It's okay. He's my favorite. Everybody's got their favorite. But you're also my favorite.
I don't know who my favorite is. I'll let you guys know when
All
I
right.
know.
Am I anybody's favorite? Basil
I
asks.
like you guys all a lot.
One final question, and then we'll let you leave and live your lives. Which are the movies that shaped your sensibilities and tastes? The following films. Thank you very much for asking, Basil. 1, broadcast news. 2, Star Wars, the original trilogy. 3, The Blues Brothers. 4, 2001: A Space Odyssey. There you go. That's me in a nutshell.
Oh, did you answer that Twitter question this week? That's why you had all those.
Yeah, you had those ready to go.
No.
They were in the chamber.
No, I've just known that for a long time.
Oh.
Spenny, let's see if you can nail it.
1, Spaceballs, probably the movie I've seen the most times. 2, Starship Troopers, the movie I've seen the second most times. And that's it.
I don't know. I guess like Wizard of Oz, Princess Bride, role models. Even though that was later in my life, I was like, yeah, this is it for me.
3, Step Brothers. That's a good movie.
What other one shaped my?
Did it shape you, or is it good?
It's good.
Okay.
I think it like shapes your taste, shapes your like what you're into.
Yeah. Informs your
Yeah.
whole vibe, aesthetic. To you.
I love Repo Man. I always get the two confused because they did the horrible remake, the Emilio Estevez,
If we had to
Harry
pick
Dean Stanton one.
the one movie that shaped SJU, what is it?
Oh God! You know what shaped SJU originally? Bankruptcy. We had no money. We had to figure something out.
What is a bankrupt?
Defies last gasp.
Just kidding.
You know what did
I'm
really bad
just
financially?
kidding.
Cats. That was it.
Yeah, that's how most great things are made, is under dire financial straits. What do we have? A desk and a microphone.
GTE.
You had to get the stick.
You had to get the stick and fix the light every other day. Fire alarms going off.
I mean, the fact that we have a budget makes us in a whole different class from most of what's on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we're living large because we have a desk.
we got
That gives
this
us
desk, a
legitimacy.
microphone.
I told you there's a piece of candy under the desk that's been there for long.
What?
Still good.
You know what I would say in
So
reality? What I wanted it to feel like was kind of like Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I think it does.
Yeah. A little bit. That was the vibe I wanted it to feel like.
Yeah, we could go for that.
It doesn't, because that takes a lot of money and time to produce. But
Yeah.
I feel like our energy
Just like
feels
the
that.
energy.
Yeah.
I wanted it to feel like lovable Joker stuff, insightful shenanigans.
There you go.
I think that's what we wanted,
Yeah,
right?
that's the goal.
I think we've come close.
Shenanigans, am I right?
You are right.
Why don't they call it shenanigans?
You know what, you bunch of thick snacks. We're going to wrap it up for the day. But first, Roxy Striar is going to call out to herself.
Yes, because Roxy. You guys can find me everywhere at Roxy Striar, which I'm sure you're really going to want to do after this stream today.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for our highly produced show. And Spencer, thanks for riding this train with me.
Oh, yeah, all day.
All the way to the crashing point. And we're going to crash this thing right now. And other people will see you tomorrow. And I'm sure there will be fireworks or something amazing. Or like a pre-tape. Oh, we're just going to do an episode of Cribs.
Whoa.
Yeah, you get this Twitter question.
Am I
Bye.
right?
I'm not bitter.